All right, today we're going to be looking at Fortress of Terror. This is described as a roll and write solo adventure game, and it is also labeled the Roll With It system by John Bailey. And it comes in this big box. It's labeled fantasy here. This is proposed, I guess, as part of a series. In the big box, you get a few things that do not take up the space of the box. You get some laminated cards, you get some smaller laminated cards, and a few dice and a pen. But I guess the concept is that at some point material will be released, I guess, to fill up this box. So let's take a look at what this is, and we'll get into showing you the components and a little bit of gameplay. This is the Fantasy Core module for the Roll With It system. We have a description here of the story. There are whispers that the evil warlord Bram has returned to terrorize the realm, and your town has chosen you to go to the tower and stop him. This is a solo-only game. Collect powerful relics and use their powers to help you navigate a series of mazes using a pool of dice that are rolled each round. This is the pool of dice. Allocate your dice carefully as you move, but you can never retrace your steps, as Bram has cursed the ground to crumble beneath your every step. Complete chapter goals and escape each maze to advance to the next, until you reach the final battle with Bram himself. Fortress of Terror is the first adventure module in the Roll With It system, a modular, solitaire roll and write adventure game system with endless possibilities for adventure. The simple, puzzly, maze-style gameplay is approached differently in each adventure, building on the basic rules with new rules, concepts, and components that make each adventure feel fresh and unique. And indeed, with this box, you get the basic system rulebook as well as the Fortress of Terror module rulebook, and the adventure sheets, some relics cards, and some movement dice and things like that. That, in effect, what you're doing is you are a character in a maze. You're rolling dice to indicate how you can move, how many orthogonal spots you can move without coming into a barrier. And you're attempting to go through this maze and try to pick up the numbered relics, as many of them as you can, avoid as many traps as you can, and in this particular story, land on one of these magical blue orbs at the same time as the Doom dice, which is a d12 that you roll that starts out at a random number and escalates through the turn, at the same time that that number is represented on the Doom dice. So, for example, if you start out the game and you roll up 4 for Doom, it escalates, say, by the time you get to turn 8, for example. If you are in a position to pick up Orb 8, that would be relevant to counting the Orb of Ice, I think it's called, in this game, that you have successfully picked up. But if you were standing on the Orb of Ice and your Doom die was at 12, say, the orb would not be there. So it's meant to be moving around this magical garden, and you're sort of chasing it down as part of your goals for this chapter of the story. Now, I say story because the concept here, even though the gameplay is very much, as we'll see, manipulation of dice to try to move in a certain way, and you have a d4 luck die that you're rolling that will allow you to add or subtract a value from one die, for example, to kind of mitigate the roll that you get. And then there are the relics cards that also impact this. Even though that is the gameplay, there is a strong effort here to make this into a story, and part of the way that happens is with these story cards. And the way you add these in, I think they're described as, well, it says they're completely optional and not required for play. So the game could be simply the mechanics of this die manipulation, and of course, mostly that's what it is mechanically, but the optional cards are included, and what you do is you select cards that relate to the part of the story that you're in, And so in this case, it says Fortress of Terror, Chapter 1. And you build a deck with the cards for the chapter as well as some general cards for the module. And after you roll the dice and move, I'll show you this. You shuffle these up and you flip over a card, and then there is a kind of a narrative, light narrative, and some impact into the story so that you can add on to the concepts that you're traveling through this maze here. And you can see in the illustration on the cover, it took me a while really to focus on it because of the way this is designed, but this is the representation of chapter 1 of the story. We're in the garden here, and you're trying to get through the maze and recover these relics. And we'll read you that story when we begin to show the way that it plays. So in any case, the game system. We already established what it is, the components. You set this up by rolling your pool of dice, and you're activating your dice to allow you to move. So for example, if you rolled a 2, you could be moving in certain directions, this way, but not through a barrier, for example, or this way that puts you into a trap, but not through this barrier. And then as you move through the maze, you also may come upon teleporter spots, which are indicated by these letters. So if you went over the B spot here, it could pick you up here, but you'd be continuing your movement dice. And as mentioned, you roll the D12 that signifies the impending doom, and you also have a doom track. So you need to complete your objectives by the time your track is full, and you mark these off as you go. Now you can see here, this is meant to be erasable, but you really do need to erase it right away. That was left over from some other attempt I made. I think when I play, I'm going to try to put this in I don't know, maybe a plastic baggie or something. I was a little worried about that. I would recommend, you're going to be losing here a lot initially, and I recommend erasing these marks. If you're leaving the game, I recommend erasing the marks right away if you want them to vanish. In any case, you need to complete your task by the time terror escalates, and you have 2 options here. The darker skeleton is the sort of harder, but if you want to give yourself a few extra turns, you can get these extra turns here for that. And you have a place here to indicate once you collect your orb, a little check mark there. I didn't put that in. I think that's in the game. I certainly haven't yet gotten the orb. It is a game where you will need to do different strategies. Despite it being a dice rolling game, it is a strategic one where you need to plan out your moves and in conjunction with where you know that doom die is going. So I think now with this overview concluded, I'll just give you a sense. We'll start to play out some of the turns in the first chapter of Fortress of Terror. Okay, let's get set up here to play, and we will read the adventure module here. Your small hamlet of Fellwart is threatened by a foreboding tower emanating a mysterious evil power. Legend says that an evil warlord once lived in the tower, terrorizing the realm. There are whispers that this warlord, known as Bram, has somehow returned, and you have been chosen to go to the tower and stop this threat. Within the garden outside Bram's tower lies the key to stopping him, the Orb of Ice. If you can navigate the eerie crypt beyond the garden and find a way to enter Bram's tower, you may be able to save your town. But those who enter the Fortress of Terror never return. Now, it says here you may play the tutorial before playing Chapter 1. You may bring the Golden Apple with you into this adventure. The Golden Apple is a relic card that I need to find, actually. I didn't understand where the tutorial was, however, so I didn't play that. I'm not sure what I'm missing, but if there wasn't clearly enough marked for me to figure out. In any case, this is the Golden Apple card that you're meant to get, and from playing the tutorial, and it allows you to re-roll a single die in your dice pool once. So we're just going to start out with this as an item. The other thing we're going to start out with an item is this, the other thing we're going to start out with is this companion, and it's labeled FOT, meaning Fortress of Terror. This is Halifan the Trailmaster. He will allow us to discard any 2 dice from your pool and then move the amount shown on the Doom die, and we'll see what that means. This cannot be mitigated by the luck die. I'll explain this. Then we flip the card face down, and he will join us again at the end of each, at the beginning of each chapter after we use him once. So we're going to enter Bram's Garden here. You exit the eastern edge of the forest. Sprawled out between you and the dark mountains is the nightmarish Fortress of Tower. The hill you now stand on overlooks an ancient, overgrown garden. Beyond the garden, a graveyard of stones and rubble is the only pathway to the foot of the looming tower, and, unfortunately, your destination. The gates to the garden have long since been shut and sealed, whether by age or something else, you do not know. However, you have spotted a large tree growing up near the garden, its giant boughs stretching far out over the garden and creaking in the foreboding wind that cuts across the plain. Climbing the tree should be easy, and you can drop right down into the middle of the garden. So, our chapter goal here is to collect as many relics as we can, to collect the Orb of Ice, and escape through the gates and leave the map via one of these arrow areas. We're going to lose, so we'll look here and see what we've got there. We're dropping down. We start here in the middle. Thematically, we're dropped down this tree, and the Orb of Ice is going to be in one of these blue circles moving around. The relics are denoted by these numbers, and the Doom of Dice is also going to be a timer for the destruction of these relics before we can get to them, and we'll see how that works. And we do lose the game if the terror track reaches that dark skeleton that I showed you, or we're unable to make any legal move, or we leave the map without collecting the orb. And let's see, so we have the setup instructions here, and we can see this is the cemetery beyond, but right now we're focusing on the garden. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place the adventure sheet. We did that. We're going to name our hero. Well, I don't really have a name for my hero, so I think we'll leave that hero nameless unless we want to go back to my ill-fated Fidget, who has appeared in many videos. Maybe we'll call this character Fidget. Fidget was in a bunch of different videos if you've been following the channel, and so Fidget is going to return for this game. Fidget, the title of Fidget is going to be denoted by how successful we are at the end of this adventure, so we're going to hope for the best for Fidget again. And we are going to gather our dice, and then we're going to start by placing the Doom dice after we roll it over here. And again, the value in particular matters for, okay. So let's just start by rolling this. We got a 2. Again, the value of this in particular just matters for the indication of understanding what relic is in peril. So for example, relic number 2 is here, and if we don't reach relic 2 by the end of this turn, it will be destroyed. We'll mark an X over it, and that will be a bad thing in the world for us. And additionally, right now, it means the Orb of Ice is in spot 2, and spot 2 is way over here. It's really pretty much impossible to reach, but this is where the planning of the game comes in, because we know at the end of each turn, this Doom die is going to increase by 1. So the orb is going to move. Next time it's going to be in 3, then it's going to move to 4, then it's going to move to 5, etc. So we want to sort of think about what can we reasonably do in each turn, and at a certain point we must position ourselves to pick up that orb. So we can't get to anywhere let's see, let me just explain how the movement works. For movement, you're going to be rolling these 4 dice. You're only going to be allowed to use 3 of them, plus the luck die if you wish. And so this was our roll. So we're going to look and see the way the luck die works is you can either add or subtract this value from any one movement die you have. So, for example, this 5 could be turned into an 8 movement if we added it, but we can only use that once. Or this 5 could be turned into a 2 if we wanted that. Or, it said you could even make a 0 movement. I don't know that that would help you unless you needed to end your turn, because you must use 3 dice for movement. You can't use 4, you can't use 1. And so if you found yourself in a place where you only could move twice basically and wanted to stop, I suppose a 0 movement could come in handy there. But in any case, we're just starting out here. So we need to first off plan 2 things. When can we get that orb, and also can we stop the relic number 2 from being destroyed, and also along the way pick up as many relics as possible. And doing all that before the terror track runs out. If we walk over a trap or land on a trap, we have to advance the terror track because of that trap. So there's that to play with also, and we need to be at this exit by the time we get to the skeleton. So there's a lot to do. I'm going to give up on getting orb number 2 right now. It's just impossible to do that, I think. Looking toward planning to get orb 3, or maybe planning to show up at orb 4, as well as considering the relic issue here in terms of we're going to be losing relics 2 and relic 3 and ultimately relic 4 if we don't get to them in time. So let me think about this a little bit. All right, I've given it some thought, and I'll say I've attempted this game many times and haven't gotten terribly too far, but here's my think on this. I'm going to spend 5 movement to go up 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to get a relic. That's a card. And the numbers here really are irrelevant in terms of the card. You just pull the relic card from the top of your shuffle deck. The numbers are just signifying when they're going to be destroyed. In any case, I'm going to walk up 5. Then I need to move 6. You can't turn in the middle of your move unless you have a special relic that lets you do that. And right now I don't. So I need to move 6. I don't have 6 movement, but I do because I could add 3 to 3 and use my luck die to give me 6 movement here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will go over a trap and then move up 1 to get that second relic. So I'll pick up 2 relics in a turn. I will go over 1 trap, but my thought then would be that I would move down in the next turn to try to get to this teleporter A to bring me out here on A, right near the 4th orb by the time this doom die, which you can't see right now, is going to go. It'll be 3 the next turn, and then I'm going to turn it to 4. I don't know if that's going to work out, but that's the best plan I can come up with. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and this brings us to a relic circle. So off to the side, I have shuffled up. You can see I'll just shuffle some more. These are the relic cards that are labeled both Chapter 1, and then there's some that are just like general Fortress of Terror ones. So we'll pull in the first relic we got, which is the Phase Belt. During a single movement, move through all barriers except map edges as if they do not exist. Well, that's pretty cool. So when you use a relic, you turn it over. You don't discard it. You can only use it once per chapter, but you get to keep it for the next chapter. And that's great and will become important in terms of the final showdown with the boss, Bram. So we expended this, and now the next thing, we need to move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do that. When we go over the trap, we immediately have to mark a terror box. And we used this and this to get the 6 movement. And then I have 1 here to move up here, and we get relic number 2. And this is just pulling it in off. This is that random stack. And we got speed gloves. Combine the values of any 2 dice in your dice pool when moving. Both dice are considered standard movement dice with no special abilities or bonuses. So that's pretty cool. Usually you can't add 2 movement dice. You can only add something that is from the luck die, but this allows us to do that. So that's pretty cool. It also saves the destruction of this relic, because what happens now, so we ended as a reminder, you only use 3 of the 4 movement die that you roll. And so that was the roll dice and the activate dice turn. I realized I forgot to do the story card, which I'm going to do right now. It says, during play, at the end of each roll dice phase. Well, I was supposed to do it before I did the activation. So we won't do it this turn. We'll just do it next turn to show you. So when we're going to move on to the enemy's power phase. And in the enemy's power phase of the game, we are meant to place an X over any uncollected relic that shares the number as the doom die. But in this case, we didn't have to lose that relic because we collected it. And we also need to check off the next box on the terror track. So we do need to do that. And again, because we went over that trap, we have used 2 of the terror spots. And you can see that it's tough. It's tough. You have to really maximize what you do in each turn, and getting 2 relics in 1 trap. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's the best I could have done, but I did. And I do need to remember I can use this ability once to discard any 2 dice from my pool. I also have this golden apple to re-roll. So there is a lot, as you can see. And now I have these 2 relics. I mean, there's a lot to consider, even though this is a dice rolling game. There's a lot to consider each turn to maximize what you can do. And that then is the end of the enemy's power phase. And then the impending doom, we mark the terror track and we turn this doom die to 3. And what this says to us is that this relic will be destroyed at the end of this turn if we haven't collected it. And yeah, I don't know that we could get there. It also says that currently the orb of ice is over here. Now I've pretty much given up getting the orb of ice here. I'm focusing on trying to pick it up the next turn, which means right now what I need to try to do is to get to this teleport. But I can see right now I made a mistake, because you cannot backtrack over yourself. So I wasn't thinking about that when I was planning this, because I was planning to walk back. I can't do that. And I don't have anything that's going to let me do that in terms of a relic. I don't even know if there is a relic that can do it. So right away, I'm not going to change this plan. Right away, I made a mistake. So I think I'm going to focus maybe on the 5th. I don't know. I got to give this some thought. And all right, I tried to reposition this here because I realize it's might be just a teeny bit hard to see. This is rather small, but I also want to show you the cards, because at this point now we're into it in our second round here. There's just so many different options. So as indicated, I made a mistake thinking I could get to this teleport A because I forgot I can't backtrack. I still want to focus, though, on meeting up with orb 4 in the next turn. Maybe I can do it this way. If I get to teleport D, which is here, and then I get down to the end of teleport D by the end of my 3rd turn here, I can hopefully meet up with orb 4 in the 4th turn and kind of get that taken care of. Now, what that will mean is I will be sacrificing relic 3, which is, where is relic 3? Here. I'm not going to be able to pick that up this turn. And I'm also going to sacrifice relic 4 because I'll be over here in the 4th turn, but this is a game of those kinds of choices. Maybe I'll be able to get to relic 5. Once I get this orb taken care of, maybe I'll be able to, in turn 5, get to orb 5, and maybe even get to orb 6 in turn 6, and then start at a certain point. I have to get back and get out. So that's my revised plan. Again, I have these things that can mitigate or help in some way, including moving through barriers and such, but I want to kind of keep that around for an emergency, as it were. So this is my plan. This is where we are. Whoops, we're not going to move that. And we're now going to re-roll all of the 4 movement dice and the luck die to see what, that's a lot of low values, what that will bring us. So again, my plan here is to get to the teleport D, and I'll just put this so you can see this here. I can re-roll. These are really super low values. 1, 2, 3. I need a movement of 4. Well, I do have that. And then the 1. Actually, I can get right to D this way, come out here, and then I would have a sort of a fresh option here to, I could move up to 5 if I add that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would take me through a trap. Or I could go up 2. Either way, I'm going to end up, wouldn't necessarily, I think maybe I'll do that and move up 2. I know there's a relic card that lets me avoid traps. I sort of wouldn't want to use it for just one trap in the way, but I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's going to be my plan. Again, I'm not picking up any relic here. I'm sort of sacrificing the option to get a relic here with the virtual guarantee that I'll be able to pick up the Orb of Ice by the time I get to my next turn. And I know I have to do that to satisfy the requirements of this chapter. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to, what did I say? I'm going to move 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like so. There, that's my 4 movement die. Again, I'm not using any of my relics quite yet to help me. I'm going to go up 1 to teleport D, which is going to bring me out down here. And then what I can do is, again, I've got I could move up to 5 with the luck die. And there's no penalty for using the luck die. You can just use it. It's part of your option for the turn. So I'm here. I could move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and end up here. Or I don't think I'm going to do that. I think it's best. I don't want to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want to necessarily move here because I'll have to try to avoid that trap to get to 4. I can move 2, 1, 2 here. It's probably what I'm going to do. Or I could just move 2 here. I feel a little more confined here. 1, 2. Well, it probably doesn't really make a difference because probably doesn't make a difference. Again, this is, you could sort of see some of these mechanics of the game. I don't think I don't really need to re-roll. I'm not sure re-rolling would necessarily give me anything. And moving through barriers, I need to save that for, like I said, an emergency, meaning the game will end if I find myself in a corner with no legal move. So I want to save that. Combining the dice to get farther, I could move 4, 2 plus 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's not going to get me any benefit. And discarding any 2 dice to move the amount on the Doom die, again, no benefit from any of my relics or my character. I'm simply going to move 2, and for whatever reason, so I can just get through this without a trap, I'm going to move here. So I'm going to spend my 3rd movement die to move there. And that is, oh, I forgot the story card again. All right, anyway, next time, that is the end of my activation dice. The enemy's power, in this case, is going to end up destroying Relic 3. I just couldn't stop that, so Relic 3 is gone, and Impending Doom is continuing on. So we have to mark that off, and you can see the pressure is pretty strong right now, but I feel pretty good about where we are. I'm sorry I keep forgetting the story cards. We're going to definitely do that next turn, which we're going to get right into the next turn or round, whatever it's called, and hopefully make get that orb. So the Impending Doom continues as we move from 3 to 4, and we've been We've been working toward this. Right now, of course, now I roll high. I don't necessarily need that. This is, we'll lay out the roll here, and let's see. The main priority is getting this orb first. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could get there. And we have this barrier here. So 1, 2. The most we could travel is 2. And that's going to be a problem. That is going to be a problem. I may have to re-roll because I can't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need either a 1 or a 2 to collect this orb. And I really wanted a 1 and then get to this A teleport. All right. There's no way for me to get to a 1 because this is a 4. So that's going to give me, oh yeah, there is. 5 minus 4, exactly that. Okay. That's it. That's what we're going to do. Again, I'm saving my relics. I don't know if I should be using them now, but what we're going to do is we're going to move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will go over a trap. Then we're going to go use our luck die, 5 minus 4, right up to 1 to grab the orb of ice because it's number 4 and we're at 4 in the doom. So we grab the orb of ice, then we're here. And then I actually have this 1 that I could end up on A. That would be my third one, bringing me out here. Now, being by this 5 orb is, when we turn to 5, is nothing because the orb, there's only 1 orb. So really we want to be by the 5 relic. So maybe I wouldn't even do that. I don't know if you have to use the teleporter if you land on it. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to look that up, but we could just go 1, 2, 3, 4 and end right there. I think that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. So we're going to use 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Move this way. Unfortunately, we went through a trap, so we marked that off. So that's the 6. And then we don't even have to get fancy with this. We could just use this 1, which I didn't even notice I had. So there we go. Boom, we picked up the orb of ice right now. We got it. And we now have this possibility of movement. We could move, really we could move up to 9, but there's barriers. We could move 1. We could move 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's simply what we're going to do is move 4. Again, did not get, so we use that. We're done now. Did not get any relics this turn. Forgot the story card again. Did not get any relics this turn. And yeah, that is, that's it. That's the end of that. The enemy's power is going to increase, so we are going to destroy Relic 4, and Relic 4 is, where's Relic? Relic 4 is here. We're losing relics left and right. Time passes, and the doom is going, impending doom is now at 5. I promise I'm going to use those story cards next turn, and that, we got the orb, we executed our plan, and now I really want to pick up, I want to save Relic 5. It's been a few turns since we didn't get any relics, so let's give this a roll. And wow, we rolled 3 6s. Wow. Okay. That was our roll. You can still see that there. And we, let's see, if we walk up 1 here, see, without these relics, moving from 5 to 6, we're going to pass through these 2 traps, and I don't have anything that mitigates that. I have something that lets me go through a barrier. But to pick up, we have a 1. Then we could pick up, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pick up that. I really want to get some, I want to get more relics. This 5 and 6 is so tempting, but it's going to advance, it's going to advance me almost to the end. I just don't think I can do that. So 1, let me think about this. Okay, I formulated a plan. I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but this 5 and 6 being on 5 here is too tempting to ignore. So my plan is I'm going to move up 1, then I'm going to move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is going to trigger 2 traps, but I'll pick up relic 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the luck die to subtract from the 6 to give me 2 movement. So I'm going to go 1, 2. I'll pick up relic 6, and I'll end here. And then I will have advanced the terror tracks by 3, 1, 2, 3 for the 2 traps and the 1 time. So I'll have 2 more times to get to the exit. And what I'm going to hope for then being here is a roll that will allow me to basically, I save this barrier thing, just essentially like walk straight or something, I don't know, through barriers, plus possibly combining the values of die to give me more movement, and then re-rolling, I don't know, just basically kind of like doing everything I can, and or using my character, I don't know, I saved it up to the end. I will also be picking up 2 more relic cards, so those could possibly help. That's the best I've got right now as a plan. So I'm going to go 1 here, and then I'm going to do my 6 movement. 1, so I'm going to get a relic here. We'll look at that in a second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to mark off 2 because of the traps. And let's see what relic card I got. Whoops. A travel helm. Ooh, that sounds good. When teleporting, wow, move to any unblocked destination teleporter of your choice. Oh, that's really cool. Well, so for example, I could go down to C with my travel helm, and then come out, well, C is right here anyway, but I could go to B and then come out at C or whatever. That's really good. I don't know that I will make use of it, but we got it. And then the last thing we're going to do for this turn of movement, I forgot that story thing again, is to go to 1, 2, and I will get another relic card. Whoops, and this is Knock Stone. Open up 2 doors on the current chapter maps. Do I have doors here? I don't know if that means a barrier. That's different than a door. I'm not sure what that means, but we got it. And I think part of the reason I'm forgetting about this story thing, which I'm going to just show you one of the cards now because it's silly, is that it just feels to me like you would do it after, not between rolling and activating. But in any case, let's pretend I rolled my dice, but I didn't move yet. We turn this and it says it's an object. An ancient stone bench would appear to be a perfect resting spot, if not for the thorny vines beneath it waiting to ensnare your ankles. The effect is to look at the next story card, then place it back on top of the story deck. Well, that really didn't help us. Well, let's look. Location. The garden was once a thing of beauty in ages past. Now it is an abomination, twisted and evil, pulling you further into its writhing clutches. The effect, I get +1 to any movement die. So I don't know if that's an effect for just this round, if I could have used that, or if I can hang on to that. I'm not really sure. I'll have to check in the rules, but be that as it may, I'm not going to take this benefit or this card because in fairness, I didn't do it. But I will try really hard to remember this time. So here we are, and we are here, and I think, I guess we're in okay shape. So the Brahm cannot destroy Relic 5 because we got it. We are going to activate the impending doom to 6, and we don't, again, have to be concerned anymore about that orb because we already had it, and we do, though, need to mark off this spot. So we really only have 2 more rounds to get out, and we're all the way down here. We're all the way over here right now. So let us give a roll to these dice, and then now I'm remembering. Now we're going to pull in the story card and see what it says. Event. You spy a broken section of the wall just wide enough for you to slip through. It might take a few moments, but you could do it. Optional effect. If you are adjacent to a wall, are we adjacent to a wall? Well, I don't think so, actually. Remove 2 movement dice from your die pool and then move to a space on the other side of the wall. Oh, that's cool. That's a bummer. We could have, I guess, jumped over a wall. But alas, when I finally used the story card, it didn't come into play. But that's cool. At least it gives a sense of how that would work. So didn't get to do that because of where we are. That's not adjacency. Let's look at what we rolled here and see if it gives any thought to, again, at this point, I need to get out of here, basically, and I need to do so fairly quickly. I'm not even sure that I'm going to try to pick up any more relics. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 relics, and now might be a time to consider re-rolling this low number 2. I don't know. We are just trying to get out of here. We can walk through barriers in a single movement. We can add up these dice. For example, using our speed gloves, we could move 10. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we can't cross ourselves, though. I really don't want to go through a trap. So we could move up to 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We could move through there. Let me give this some thought and see. Okay. I've made a plan, and I'm going to say at the outset, this could be a plan that is actually taking advantage of some ambiguities in the way the cards are described. But we're gonna go with it. I think it's my best guess as to the accuracy of what I'm doing. I don't know. We'll see. So this Knock Stone card, it says open up 2 doors on the current maps. It's indicated as being for Fortress of Terror, even though there's no doors here. So I per the rules, I think it's correct that it's in my stack right now. So I'm going to take doors to mean a barrier. So I'm going to use this card. I'll just show you what I'm planning before I actually do it. I'm going to use this Knock Stone in conjunction with move this up. I moved these around a little bit, but I didn't change the values. I'm going to use this in conjunction with my 2 movement here to move up to here and go through this hedge with this Knock Stone. It's not 2, I'm just using it for 1, placing me right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 4 plus my 2 luck here to move 6. So I'm here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, placing me here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my phase belt during a single movement, move through all barriers as if they do not exist. So I'm here and I'm going to move up. And the way I'm going to move up is my character is going to help me. It says discard any 2 dice from your pool and move the amount shown on the doom die. May not be mitigated by luck. Now, what's ambiguous here is it doesn't say any 2 unused dice. It says any 2, but I do have 1 that's unused, and 1 is the extra one that you don't use. So it's a little unclear to me, but I'm gonna do that and allow myself the doom die is 6. So from here, using the barrier thing, I can move up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and end here. I've avoided all traps, so I just will be marking off 1 tick, therefore giving me 1 more turn, hopefully in my die rolling and with my remaining cards to get out. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to mark that up and then come back. Okay, so as you can see, I turned over the cards that I used, the 2 relic cards, my character card, and I moved the doom die to 7. I marked off the turn. I didn't have to destroy relic 6 because we got it, and we are ending our time here, and we need to get out before I have to get to that spot. So we're going to roll these dice. We're going to remember the story card. Event. Oh, darkness falls suddenly and heavily upon you and your surroundings, like a thick black cloak. You cannot determine whether it is natural or something else. It has no effect, but, well, thematically, that's cool. We're trying to get out before the darkness ends. So really, at this point, this should be pretty easy because, fortunately, there's no traps that we're going to have to go through. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we could get to 3 by this 5 and 2, bringing us here. And then we have 1, 2, 3 and out. I believe the rules say when you get here, you don't have to actually be accurate in terms of ending with the amount on the pips. So this is going to be, with this die rolling, we don't even have to worry about a reroll. So we can simply move up 3, 1, 2, 3. And I believe this is accurate. So we're going to use the 5 and the -2 to give us a 3 movement. And then I believe any of these really, once we get to here, we can move 1 to here. And then we have whatever movement out. So that is how we got out. And what we used some relics and we used our character. We got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 relics. I have no idea if that's any good. We did get the orb and we used our character. So the next stage is we're going to check out and see what that actually means in terms of advancing the story. All right, so we turn to the book here, and it says ending chapter 1. If you have collected the orb of ice, we did, and reached the gates before the terror track has reached this skull, you have escaped the garden. Do not complete any more phases of the round and ignore any remaining movement points. Be sure you have ticked the orb of ice box on your adventure sheet if you collected it, and if you have not, you've lost. Do not remove the doom die from the adventure sheet. It remains on its current face to begin the next chapter. And here, just to point out what I was saying earlier, when activating a movement die to exit the garden, you do not need to use all of the movement points on that die, etc. So I think we were okay there. And that's it. There's nothing. This is going to continue on to Brahm's crypt, which is down here below. So we would keep the doom die here at 7. And I think we can then reactivate the relics that we used here, and we can continue on into chapter 2, which I'm not going to do for this video, but hopefully this gives you a look inside how this game works and plays. And for a game with, essentially you're using 3 d6s plus this d4 to move around a maze, it is really strategic, as you could see, that there's a lot of choices to be made, at least in this first chapter here, and presumably throughout the rest. I've never made it actually this far, so I don't know the mechanics in the later chapters, but I'm sure they're slightly different in terms of what you are doing. And there is this, it does come with this blue dice called, I think it's called the orb dice, so hopefully I have collected this in some way, I'll find out, to use. There is a lot of strategy in the game, and it is, before I got to this stage, I played it a bunch of times and just sort of wiped out early on. So there's the sense that you want to sort of keep playing and keep doing it to move forward. The overall graphic design of it, I think, could maybe use, it could use a little bit, I would have designed it slightly differently, let's put it that way. For me, for example, this part showing you, 4d6 and the things that you get, which is already, you already see that literally right on the next page, takes up so much space. And then the story here is written pretty small. And so there's a few things like that throughout the design of the product that I think I would have maybe tinkered with slightly to give a better ratio of what you want to see big. I would have liked this to be bigger, for example. Be that as it may, I understand why it's with the crypt, because thematically you're traveling to the crypt next. Although again, I would probably put the garden on the bottom and then you're going this way to the crypt. But in any case, that does not impact gameplay whatsoever. The art on the relic cards is perfectly appropriate and nice enough. And the cards themselves are, this is a Game Crafter game, and I'll put the link down below to that if you want to pick it up. The cards are nicely done with a linen finish, and they feel nice, and they're thick and sturdy. As I said, I would recommend putting the card into something. We'll take a look here at, this could be the tutorial. I don't know. It's not labeled tutorial here, but I saw this and wasn't sure what it was. So maybe that's the tutorial. I don't know. In any case, this is from a as you advance into a different story, a different map. But though it is meant to be something you can write on with the included marker, I would recommend not doing that because I'm not sure how thoroughly the marks would erase, especially if you're replaying it. So that's a look inside Fortress of Terror. Was really enjoyable. It was, as I said, I kept wanting to go back to it and try to get to where I just got to in the video, and I'm going to continue playing on it. It is a game that makes you want to replay it and replay it till you get to the end.